Here it is, third and final installment in Nine Inch Nails EP trilogy, after 2016's Not the Actual Events and last year's Add Violence. My name is Marek and today I will review Bad Witch by Nine Inch Nails. This time, Trent Reznor describes it as a full album, even though we are getting only 6 new songs, clocking in around 30 minutes. A reason for labeling it full LP was because streaming services like Spotify tend to put less significance on EPs and singles, making them more difficult to find, as full albums are seen as more important and thus receiving more promotion, which doesn't sound really fair. So understandably that could cause some confusion, but at the end of the day I get the motivations behind Reznor's decision in that matter. Bad Witch starts aggressively but also quite catchy with Sheet Mirror. Catchy but also raw and brilliantly out of control in its aggression, reminding us a little bit about Broken from 1992. Referencing the past is somewhat present on this project, but at the same time it always feels fresh and honestly thrilling. There is this sudden 1-second pause in the middle of the track where Trent whispers something inaudibly that fans all over the world are trying to decipher as we speak. It's great that this mysticism and playing with our imagination through hidden messages, lyrics or mysterious physical components sold with Add Violence is still present in Nine Inch Nails universe. Track number 2, Ahead of Ourselves, is as hard-hitting and aggressive as the first one, with distorted vocals and abrasive guitars. I also liked hectic drum beat, reminding me a little bit of the Perfect Drag from 1997 Lost Highway soundtrack. Then we have Play the Goddamn Part. It got this weird jazzy vibe, and for me it sounds like a soundtrack to a visit in abandoned insane asylum, which is also most definitely haunted. This sort of metallic piano melody coming on and off during this track helps build a very eerie atmosphere. The only downside here is that it feels like this track is losing its direction a little bit at the end, kind of wandering around unfocused. Adding saxophone is definitely a nice touch on Bad Witch and a breath of fresh air in band's sound. Trent admitted in one of the interviews that this instrument brought itself onto this project, even though it was in his studio for some time now. But recording Bad Witch was finally the time when Trent felt the need to reignite his relationship with it. I mentioned David Lynch earlier, and I feel like this track might actually be inspired by his work. There are a few moments on this album where Trent is paying his tribute to David Bowie with his inspirations on Bad Witch, like on God Break Down the Door. Also, this song is in a way mixing ingredients of Trent and Atticus' soundtrack-ish work with the regular songs, sort of like a 2-in-1. And since I mentioned Bowie, here I even got some Earthling vibes. I Am Not From This World shows most visibly remains from soundtrack legacy created this far by Trent and Atticus. It's a very trippy piece with some interesting effects as a result of playing with sound structures and ambience. For me personally, there are tracks that I liked more on this album, but I see this one as a display of this duo artistic versatility. And I absolutely love closing track Over and Out, which starts with a simple yet beautiful bass line. First part of the track takes its time to build this very serene and relaxed, almost heavenly atmosphere. Somewhere in the middle Trent's vocals comes in, and my first impression was that I am listening to some lost collaboration with David Bowie or maybe some B-side from Black Star era. Over and Out serves also as an interesting contrast to Closer from Add Violence, the background world, which sounded like a slow descent into hell with this loop repeated over and over again, more distorted with each time. Over and Out, on the other hand, seems to be more heavenly. In terms of vibe, it reminds me a little bit of Hurt from the Downward Spiral. There is this unshakable feeling of dealing with crossing the line between this world and afterlife, captured so masterfully on both of these songs. Vision of humanity painted by Trent's lyrics is rather nihilistic, From his perspective, we see ourselves as more than we truly are, merely a genetic mistake, side effect of evolution, and not a transcending and enlightened beings that we like to see ourselves as. In general, Bad Witch shows how important artistic freedom and open-mindedness is for Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They achieve really exciting results through experimentation. They are expressing their vision without pandering to anyone's expectations, as at this point they don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. Despite bleak main theme of lyrical content, my impression from Bad Witch is that it captures true passion shown through almost obsessive attention to details and the overall vibe surrounding this whole trilogy, making it about more than just a music. Trent's vocals are also pretty diverse, varying from his typical aggressive singing and animalistic performances to otherworldly crooning on Over and Out. Thanks to the freedom I mentioned earlier, they can show many faces of their creativity. From aggressive industrial rocking to ambient soundscapes. I can only imagine that now, after this third and last act of this trilogy have been finally released, and since Atticus Ross is a full-time member of the band, what the next step for Nine Inch Nails is going to be.